Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Yoda Bolt fam, it's the director. Chargers fans, the offseason's just around the corner, baby. Things are rolling. Even right now, I'm getting notifications about teams making moves. Looks like the Bills are moving on from Tre'Davious White, which is absolutely nuts. And free agency is just around the corner. But with all that said, man, one of the biggest things that's still sticking out to me right now is what I experienced watching the Combine. Yes, we're going to be talking about some more of my guys in the NFL draft that I should say maybe caught my attention during the Combine. Some day 2 targets is what we're going to be going after here in today's video, with the offseason quickly approaching, the new league year just around the corner. If you guys haven't checked out part 1 of these videos, I would highly recommend it. A quick little preview here. My Chargers number 5 pick ranking so far, of course, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Nabers. Then I would like to trade down, try and get Brock Bowers, Joe Alt, some awesome options there. But that video more so goes into detail of some of the first round guys I would love to see the Chargers target even after that, with a trade down scenario, which honestly is starting to feel a lot more realistic with every passing day. In today's video, we're going to be going over my round 2 and 3 prospects that caught my attention during the Combine. Some guys I would love to target in day 2. Should be a very good one. Now, we're not going to get them all. Of course, we're going to miss some guys. I'm going to hate myself tomorrow for it, but please leave some of your recommendations in the comment section below. I'll definitely be checking them out as we get closer to the NFL draft. Before we do kick off, hit us up, or I should say shout out to the sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Use code DIRECTOR to match your first deposit up to $100. It's a great way to support the channel. Have some fun along the way. Newcomers enjoy this special as always. Before we do kick off, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into these day 2 prospects. Lights, camera, action. My day 2 draft targets for the Los Angeles Chargers. And it's a very unique draft this year. I got to tell you guys, the Chargers putting me in kind of a unique position here. Of course, you guys are probably seeing Chop Robinson on the screen right now saying, "Director, you're crazy. The man's a first rounder." Yeah, I would say he's a first rounder. I think I definitely have him in like the early 20s. But you never know what's going to happen. And there's some guys, especially considering position groups, that could fall. And I'm still seeing Chop Robinson at the tail end of, round 1, sometimes creeping into round 2. The Chargers and the position that they've put me in this season, in terms of any pick past, even the first round, is that they're pretty high, on the pecking order. Position 5 doesn't just apply to the first round. A lot of the times you're going to find guys with a previous round grade. In this instance, Chop Robinson, in my opinion, a first rounder. If he falls into the second round, I think it'd be very difficult for me as a Chargers fan to say, hey, let's go ahead and pass that up. No, it just shows that we have an opportunity to capitalize on value here. And if you guys know anything about Joe Ortiz coming in from the Baltimore Ravens system as our new GM, the man likes value. Best player available, kind of the mantra out there. So I wanted to start with Chop Robinson, even though I don't see it as a very realistic option in the second round. The Chargers with what? I think it's pick 37 in this round. If they see a guy like this fall, the position makes that more likely. You know what I'm talking about? Not the position of linebacker, but the position at the top of the second round. You could see some nice talent there. Now, Chop Robinson, maybe not everybody's favorite position group for this particular draft, seeing as the Chargers aren't in a crazy pinch at edge right now. We're going to have either or Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, hopefully. And then, of course, Tui Tuipulotu. A pick at edge in this year's draft would pretty much solidify the future of the position and help future-proof a life past Joey Bosa. Now, in the case of Chop Robinson, however, a very high second round pick with the Chargers, I'd be very excited to see this man. And again, it would be one of those guys I would love to see fall to us, even though edge isn't a huge position of need. And it's because I do think that he would be an immediate impact player, as well as a hugely valuable player in the future, seeing as he is stupid fast. By the way, edge out of Penn State ran a 4.48. Very athletic, crazy athletic. Also being a very good versatile weapon. Of course, everyone's going to compare him to Micah Parsons. He's not Micah Parsons, but he does have a little bit of that versatility to his game, right? Dropping him coverage a little bit. Let him, scream off the edge, use that raw speed to get to the quarterback. One of his biggest drawbacks is actually how desperate he is to get to the quarterback. Sometimes whips in his run defending assignments. Either way, Chop Robinson in this particular defense, I think would fit very well, because again, the Chargers will ask more of their edge guys in coverage, and I don't know how confident I am in Ajoy Bosa. Maybe Khalil Mack a little bit more, but certainly Tuli Tuipulotu showed me a little bit in coverage last year. Maybe they're going to try and pair him up with a guy that's a little bit similar with, a little bit of coverage responsibility. All right. Next up, a guy definitely, and again, this is going to vary, okay, because of the situation's kind of crazy. I think the Chargers are very likely to make a trade down this season, okay, which means they're going to accumulate more picks. They're going to have more than one second-round pick sometimes, more than, one third-round pick more than likely. So I kind of wanted to, throw a bit of a wide net here. Some of these guys I do feel are worthy of an early selection in the second round where the Chargers are picking at 37. But maybe some of these guys are, coming in a trade package. Maybe they're going to be, drafted a little bit later, a little bit, towards the middle or end of the second round that reflects that kind of value. So keeping that in mind, let's move on to my next guy here. Ladd McConkey. Now, wide receiver out of Georgia, ran a 4.39. I think this is actually not a bad guy to pick at, the top, shelf of the second round. The dude is special. And this, again, a lot of scenarios are going to be drawn up. And you guys are going to start seeing a lot more mock drafts from me as we get closer to the NFL draft. But in this situation, the Chargers, whether they trade down or not, they don't get a wide receiver in the first round. And that's very realistic. The Chargers could walk away with Joe Alt, which is a great pick. They could walk away with Brock Bowers in a trade down or a corner. In that instance, I really want the Chargers to get aggressive in their pursuit of quality wide receivers from this particular draft class. And I do think there's a chance that maybe some of the guys in the first round could fall into it, like Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell. Those guys are definitely dudes to watch for at the top of the first round. But if you got a guy like Ladd McConkey, who I think's, sometimes being overlooked, maybe getting labeled as, the Wes Welker kind of type out there. I don't know if he is, man. I feel like Ladd McConkey is as good as any, second, third round wide receiver in this draft for a lot of different reasons. Yes, he's a surgical route runner. Dude's gonna get open. Looks really, really nice out there, but he's got good size in him. 6 feet tall, 186 pounds. He just looks really good and complete. His route running looks great. His hands look great. You can run him inside, outside. I think, honestly, this is a dude that shocked me in terms of his speed as well. 4.39 is very, very nice. When I went to go take a look at some of his highlights and stuff, it definitely does show up in game. And it's one where I think he could be a very sneaky good option for a guy like Justin Herbert, especially, who would very much so be able to put that 4.39 to good use and help the Chargers out, inside out. Doesn't really matter, okay? Now, a guy that I think maybe a little bit further down the board in the second round. Maybe the Chargers do pick up a mid-second round pick. They're still looking for wide receiver. A guy that I kind of really like to the Chargers, which again, it's a bit of a gamble, but if you're talking, you're playing with house money here via an extra pick in the second round. Xavier Legette, I kind of like a lot. And a lot of people are saying, Director, not giving him enough credit. The man's amazing. He really is. There's some drawbacks and some redundancy to what he would bring to the Chargers that makes me hesitate a little bit. But for the most part, this kind of feels like the kind of wide receiver the Chargers would gun for. You know what I mean? This is a Chargers wide receiver right here. Xavier Legette, wide receiver, South Carolina, ran a 4.39. Lots of sub 4.4s this season, man. But really screams Chargers archetype. 6'3", the dude's big, but not just in terms of height. The dude's also built 221 pounds. He's massive. I think if I remember reading correctly, he was a running back at one point. A lot of those skill sets kind of translated here, right? His yak ability looks really nice. Gets a lot of, yards after the catch. Very physical. Some people kind of resemble him to a Deebo Samuel kind of type after the catch. Can look really nice out there. But the biggest trait that I like from him is his contested catch ability. I almost spit out my drink, y'all, when I was watching some of his, highlights and stuff. He kind of looked a little bit like Mike Williams. A little bit. And of course, the Chargers being put in a situation where Mike Williams is more than likely not going to be on the roster this season due to cap complications. This would be a great second round, maybe even if you're lucky, early third round pick to help supplement almost not exactly that game because Mike's kind of a unicorn, but that type of offense. You can to maintain that with a Justin Herbert, but at this point, with more speed behind it. I love Mike, and I think he does amazing things in contested catch, but he really wasn't that burner. At 4.39, that contested catch ability, the speed ability, the yak ability, I kind of see this guy as a value. Now, he's not the crispest route runner. A lot of the drawbacks that we saw with Mike Williams, you're going to see with Xavier Legette as well, but he does that job, and he does that job pretty dang well. So Xavier Legette, I like the guy. If the Chargers decide to take him top of the second, I think I'm okay with it, but I would much prefer him being in a trade down situation. We could trade down in the second round too, guys. Keep that in mind. This is why my mind's kind of melting right now, because the Chargers could do a lot of different things involving trading down in the first round. But guys, it just feels like the Chargers could be trading down in the second round. Maybe we stick and pick, grab a Malik Neighbors, Joe Alt, whatever at pick number 5, and then decide to trade down in the second round. That's absolutely possible too. A lot of guys are going to be like, yo, my first round grade, dude is still on the board. Let's go throw an extra third in, to move up and grab him. The Chargers could be in play for that as well. So a lot could happen. So I'm kind of, again, throwing a wide net of players I like to see out here. Now, one player, and this is probably going to be one of my more controversial takes of this video, that I think if the Chargers were to stick and pick in the second round, okay, we're in the second round right now, I think this player would be worth it, okay? And a lot of you guys probably going to disagree with me. Trey Benson, running back out of FSU. Now, let me set the table here a little bit, okay? The Chargers, again, in my opinion, are going to go big on 2 positions. I think it's whether in free agency, in the draft, whatever. Those positions to me are running back and defensive line. I think the offensive line's got some nice pieces. Otherwise, that would definitely be there for me as well. And I do think they're going to invest in it. But in terms of like throwing down the gauntlet a little bit, I wouldn't be shocked if the Chargers did sign Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs. One of these top shelf free agent running backs. That's how big and important the run game is to Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh. But there is a reality in my mind, at least, where the Chargers kind of know what they're going to get, right? It's more of a sure thing in their minds because they're willing to maybe pay up a little bit. Some people may say even reach for their running back in the first round. Now, I don't want to overlook Jonathan Brooks, who I think a lot of people consider the number 1 running back in this class, which I tend to agree with them there. He does have an injury, though, which makes me hesitate on putting that kind of responsibility on him for this Chargers offense, which is really going to rely on the run. However, I think Trey Benson's not getting enough love here. I think Trey Benson, to me, he looks like the best running back in the draft to start day one. You throw the running responsibilities on him, he's going to make it happen. He looks very complete to me, man. Hugely athletic. He also can bring the thump, a very physical kind of guy. He just screams bell cow. He really does. And on top of that, he shocked me with a 4.39 at the combine. That is breakaway speed. That's big plays. It really feels like the complete package when looking for a running back. And that's why I think even at the top of the second round, let's say the Chargers go into free agency and they're like, you know what, we're going to pass on Saquon, we're going to pass on Henry, we're going to pass on Jacobs. Maybe we're going to go sign, a light backup. Maybe a guy that, throws a little bit of risk, risk reward like a J.K. Dobbins or a Justice Hill, somebody from the Baltimore Ravens running back field. But we know we're going to get a guy in the second round at running back. Like, that is a position we are prioritizing this year. That's where I feel like Trey Benson, I think he just got to do it. The run game is too important. And I don't think he would be available in the third round anymore, if I'm being honest. Maybe before the 4.39 was ran, but at this point, he looks like the best, most ready to take the responsibility of RB1 running back in this entire draft. So Trey Benson, if you're going to do it, you got to take him high. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. And I'd be very excited to have Trey Benson on this team. Now, maybe a bit of a backup plan. Maybe the Chargers decide to trade down, but they still want to grab a running back in round 2. I think this guy could be available a little bit lower in the second round. Some people may even say third round, which is completely fair. But again, if the Chargers are put in a situation where they have to grab a running back to lead their backfield for that very important responsibility of their offense, I want a guy. And there's only really 3 guys in this entire draft at rookie that I trust with that responsibility. It's Trey Benson, Jonathan Brooks if the injury turns out to be okay, right? But it's more of a risk I'm not willing to take. And Jalen Wright. Jalen Wright to me looks very good, very solid, complete running back, great all-around talent, went out there and ran. Again, the 40 kind of did, and not just the 40, but of course the other drills, did weigh in a lot for me. That 4.38, that's nice. That's great. That's something that, the Chargers, I don't remember what Austin Eckler's 40 is or if we know, but it's going to be faster than Austin Eckler, especially this last year. And it gives you this huge playability from the running back position that the Chargers desperately need. And Jalen Wright, he's maybe not as big as Trey Benson, but he's still pretty big. I think like 5'10", 5'11", still like 210 pounds or something like that. The dude's nice. The dude's big. Okay, he can handle the workload of an RB1. And that's why for me, I think Trey Benson, Jalen Wright, if you don't get a running back in free agency, you need to walk away with one of these dudes in the second round, whether it be from trade down, whether it be stick and pick at 37. It's hugely, hugely important that the Chargers figure out running back before the beginning of the season. That's a big, big position that's going to have a lot of responsibility in this offense. Okay? Now, this is where I really struggled because there are some really nice names in the second round that I still would be very excited to take. But a lot of these guys I do think you can find in the third round. So I'm going to give you guys two more guys that I really, really like in the second round, okay? And again, like I said at the top of the video, running back and defensive line are pretty important to me, okay? And a guy, and I'm just going to say to the Chargers, I'm throwing it down. I really think the Chargers are going to shock us with what they invest in those positions in the offseason. Now, a guy that really kind of knocked my socks off in the combine was Braden Fisk, defensive tackle FSU. Ran a 4.78, which is fantastic. Ridiculous speed, ridiculous fluidity. What really caught my eye about this guy, though, and going in and looking into him, is just how efficient he is as a pass rusher from the interior. Does have that Morgan Fox energy, really, really does. And at that, age in this stage of his career, that upside's pretty dang nice, especially in the second round. So I don't know, man. Like defensive line is going to be very, very important. Braden Fisk is maybe not that, centerpiece of the defense that I think is maybe a little bit more important, but his talent really shot him up the board for me. His athleticism really shot him up the board for me. And again, with the edge position playing a little bit different in Jesse Minter's defense, maybe that speed and agility and fluidity from the interior to get to the quarterback might be a little bit more important. It might raise in potential or in priority. So I like Braden Fisk a lot. I think that he went overlooked by me a lot. I think I saw him more as like a fourth rounder. But after this, I think late second round, early third, I'm pretty in on Braden Fisk at this point. And the other guy that we'll be honest, a lot of Chargers fans have been looking at this dude for a while in the second round. I'm definitely not going to shake it off. The other guy from Texas I really wanted was a tight end, but I think the Chargers tight end situation's a little delicate right now, so I'll put him as an honorable mention. But as for a guy that I would definitely love to see in the second round, T'Vondre Sweat, defensive tackle out of Texas. Not the craziest guy in terms of like speed and his combine testing. He ran a 5.27, which is fine. But for his size, the dude is just absolutely huge, massive. Reminds a lot of people of Vita Vea of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, one of the best pure nose tackles in the entirety of the NFL. And again, he didn't test bad. I think he tested good, especially for his size. But the biggest draw for me of T'Vondre Sweat, if you're going to be investing in the defensive line, let's say the Chargers do sign a free agent running back. Let's say it's a good one like Josh Jacobs. Let's say we do sign a wide receiver, Malik Nabers, in the first round. I would be ecstatic if we got T'Vondre Sweat in the second round, right? I'd be super, super happy with that. Because again, you're kind of addressing some of those biggest positions, and T'Vondre Sweat being that massive space eater, gobbles up blocks, got great balance, crazy, freaky balance for his position, really helps set the tone for that defensive line there. Okay, and that's kind of, again, just one scenario that I really like. Imagine that: Jacobs, Nabers, Sweat. That's a really, really good, three players to add to the Chargers in the offseason if it were to shake down like that. And T'Vondre Sweat is a guy I'd be willing to take a little higher. But again, you got to start thinking about what the Chargers could do in the mid to late parts of every round if they were to trade down. Because I do think trade down is a very realistic thing this season, more than any other season I've covered the Chargers. All right. Now let's get into round 3. Okay, we'll move a little bit quicker on these guys, but guys that get me very, very excited. And a lot of these guys, you could argue they're second-round talents. Maybe some guys are fourth-round talents. It really depends on where the Chargers would be picking them. I think if the Chargers acquire additional picks, more than likely it's going to be in the third round. And with that being said, I think we will have options at the top and then another option in the middle or at the bottom, okay? So with that being said, one of my first favorite third-round targets is going to be Theo Johnson, a tight end out of Penn State. He ran a 4.57, which is very good for tight end, but the dude was also freakishly athletic in his drills, dude. He scored a perfect 10 RAS score, which take that for what you will. Some people don't care about it. Some people do. I find it hugely valuable in what you're getting in a prospect and how you can start. Kind of your starting, setting and how you can mold this dude. Coaches are going to love him. He's going to be more of your playmaker out there, less of your, traditional, run blocking tight end, kind of, put him in line a lot. This is more of your playmaking tight end, and he's very, very good. And he would be a really good option for the Chargers in the third round, maybe diverting from the plan a little bit. I know a lot of Chargers fans want to see us go in there and just grab a run blocking tight end that can make plays as well. That could still happen. And Theo Johnson's not terrible, right? But it's a very good option if you want to add another weapon for Justin Herbert in the third round and one of the more freaky athletic players you're going to find in the entire draft here. Okay. Now, next up, maybe a big reason why some Chargers fans, I'm not going to say who, aren't as big on the idea of Joe Alt at pick number 5. And it's because I view this draft as decently deep, I think everybody does, at offensive line. Particularly, funny enough, right tackle. Joe Alt, who plays left tackle, would have to switch to the right side. Some people find some risk in that. I don't really. I think Joe Alt's a once, in a generation kind of talent. Maybe not generation, but very, very, very good. I'm not worried about that. However, if the Chargers want to set the tone on the right side, there is a lot of options later on. I'm talking third, fourth round. Some of the best linemen in all of football are third, fourth round picks. Maybe not a bad idea, especially if you have some extra draft capital to go after that lineman in the third round. Not to mention, the Chargers aren't in the worst position when it comes to right tackle. Trey Pipkins, he's not great, but he's not terrible, right? He's really developed into an average right tackle. It's not like we're running out there with one of the league's worst anymore. You know what I mean? So with that in mind, a guy that I really, really like in the third round, I think he snuck into the second round for a lot of people, is Kingsley Suamataia, offensive tackle, BYU. Looks like, again, a really, really great option at right tackle. And, of course, he's gotten pegged as, Penei Sewell light, like Penei Sewell 2.0, Penei Sewell budget version. But he is actually very, very good, right? He's a great guy to pair up with a guy like Trey Pipkins. The reason I bring up Trey Pipkins is because Trey Pipkins allows you a year or two to kind of really get a rookie set for full responsibility. And Suamataia is a great example of a guy that you can pair with him, right? And give that kind of responsibility on the right side and letting them maybe share or whatever swing tackle responsibilities. It's not bad. It's definitely not a bad option to have in your back pocket. And I think Suamataia could definitely develop into that starter that's very solid on the right side for very, very many years. But maybe more, I don't know. He's been climbing. A guy that I personally maybe like a little bit more is another option here at tackle, Roger Rosengarten, offensive lineman, Washington. Ran a 4.92 for what it's worth. Definitely athletic. Definitely very athletic. This is the man. Okay, let me start by saying this. Rosengarten is a right tackle, okay? But the biggest reason I love him as a prospect and as an option for the Chargers in the third round at right tackle is because if I was reading correctly, in Washington, Penix is a lefty, is he not? Which would make Rosengarten the blindside tackle. That's a huge responsibility on the offensive line. And he did a great job protecting Penix's blindside in that season. If I was looking correctly at his stats, I think outside of the Michigan game, did a very, very good job at keeping Penix upright. And it brings in a unique situation at right tackle and a unique option for the Chargers where they're getting a guy who's playing the position that they need, but also played it at a much more pivotal, role with the Washington Huskies. It feels like a very cool idea to grab this guy in the third round. And he feels like, I don't know, just something that would work. Just a gut feeling. I don't know what you want me to tell you. It feels like something that would work here, right? It feels like a unique situation and a great value for the Chargers. He may not be there in the third round. Again, Sua Mataya and Rosengarten, these are top third round options for me. But still, very good to see that these alternatives are available throughout the draft. And the Chargers will have options in the second round too. You could argue J.C. Latham could be down there. You could argue maybe some other guys in the second round, like they could slip because of other positions, which would put the Chargers in a really good position in the second round. But I think guys in the third and fourth round have some upside. And because of Trey Pipkins, we can allow ourselves to take that shot. Okay? Let's move on to a wide receiver I really like in the third round that has been climbing. I think last time I covered Roman Wilson, he was more of a top of the fourth round guy to me. I think now, honestly, he could be a top of the third, bottom of the second kind of guy because of that hugely, hugely impressive 4.39. Now, honestly, in watching some of his tape and highlights, I knew he would be fast. I think that speed was going overlooked a little bit. It's like, yeah, he's actually not a bad athlete. But a 4.39 is very excellent. It's especially excellent when you think about what Roman Wilson's role would be with a team like the Chargers. I think he would be an excellent slot option for the Bolts. And everybody would say, of course, that's obvious. We think Roman Wilson almost exclusively would exist in the slot for pretty much any team in the NFL. But man, with Justin Herbert in particular, 4.39 from the slot. He's also got great hands, great acceleration, great separation, great route running. I just love Roman Wilson, dude. He's a guy that I would definitely take at the top of the third. If the Chargers are still needing to bite on wide receiver in this draft, I would be pretty happy with him. Maybe not one of those last guys, but definitely getting towards that spot where I'm like, okay, we hit on one of these really, really special wide receivers of this special, class in 2024. But Wilson would be a fantastic option for the Chargers. Now, let's keep the Michigan train rolling as we're bringing guys some running back options in the third round. Of course, I think some people even see Blake Corum as a second rounder, which is fair, right? I will tell you guys this. The reason why he's on my list right now, even after running, was it a 4.53? Was that his official time? Not the best 40 time. Not the best 40 time. However, I kind of expected that. Never really expected him to be that speed dude. But the thing that really impressed me, and the reason why I wanted to make sure his list or his name was on this list, was his short area burst and explosiveness. That checks, dude. That checks out. That was he looks shifty as any NFL player, any NFL running back in the league. And he also kind of passes the eye test in terms of like a stud bruiser. Kind of brings a bit of that element of, cannonball over the middle of the line there, even if he is a little bit smaller. I kind of like that. He also brings upside as a receiver. To me, I think Blake Corum and that ability really helped me embrace the idea, and some people are not going to like this, but this is my perspective on it. It really helped me embrace the idea of really coveting that skill set at a running back 2 position on the roster. That kind of responsibility for me, a very nice compliment guy, right? And some people may disagree with that, but I think that's really where he'll thrive. Maybe anywhere in the NFL, but particularly with the Chargers. And the idea of a Blake Corum with the Bolts, for me at least, is if we do need to complement a vet that we have already signed, right? A guy like Derrick Henry and Blake Corum with that receiving ability, that would be awesome. Or Josh Jacobs, right? Would pair very well with these guys. I love Corum as a running back 2 option. I wouldn't hesitate to take him in the third round, but not a guy that I would put the running back 1 responsibilities on. Maybe. You never know. Like, he could develop into that guy. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe Jim Harbaugh has some insight that we don't. But to me, Blake Corum, fantastic running back 2 option in and around the third round. All right? But maybe my favorite option at RB2 right now is going to be this next guy. Okay? Braylon Allen, running back Wisconsin. Didn't run the 40, so we don't know how fast he's going to be. I wouldn't imagine too fast. I would actually imagine in and around the realm of a Blake Corum, he could be a little faster. But Allen is a really, really nice option if you want to complement a speed back with a nice old school thumper power back, dude. Braylon Allen, he looks like Derrick Henry. I'm sorry, he does. The dude is massive, right? He's what? He's like 6'3", like 2. The dude's huge. The dude's huge. And it really speaks into his play, right? He's probably the best short yard backs, or one of the best short yardage backs in the entirety of the draft. And that's including some of my top guys, even like Trey Benson. Like this guy, I think, if you need somebody to convert on 3rd and short, 4th and short, I don't know if I trust very many other running backs more than Braylon Allen. It's kind of like saying, who would you trust in that situation in the NFL? I think a lot of people would say Derrick Henry. Braylon Allen could be that next kind of guy. He's not going to be, in my opinion, right now at least. Again, who knows what the potential could be, especially in this offense. I don't think he's going to beat Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's kind of more complete, running back. But in terms of that role of running back too, I love Braylon Allen. Not just because of the short yardage, but I think he's also great in protection as well. Nice pass blocker in those situations, which is a hugely valued trait in the league. But pairing him with a good free agent running back would give us, in my opinion, for the first time in a long time, a complete arsenal of weapons. I love the idea of pairing him up with Saquon Barkley. That, if you guys are asking what my dream scenario is, I know not everybody wants to spend the money on Saquon. I get it. I understand it. I'm with you with that argument. Okay, I understand the logic behind it. But if you're going to transform this run game, transform it. Barkley, Allen, that feels transformed to me. All right, there's my hot take right there. Moving into the 3rd round, as far as defensive tackle, which again, very important. I kind of wish I put more corners on here. If I'm going to be honest, I kind of missed out on some. Please list some guys that you like. Of course, we're going to have more in the 4th round and beyond. But a defensive tackle, again, Michigan guy, very easy to see the relation there. 4.91, great elite run defender, freakishly strong. Maybe he needs to work in the pass rush category a little bit, but he had a great combine. He showed great athleticism. As a matter of fact, I think he was placed on that athletic freaks list or whatever by one hugely widely known NFL analyst. But that freakish strength in the middle of the line, that's what I want. That's what I want. I want a guy setting the tone in the middle, and that's why guys like Devondre Sweat are so attractive to me as well. Braden Fisk and these other guys, very good at getting to the running back, very good versatile kind of weapons, but the guy that kind of sets the tone in the middle, I want a guy like Chris Jenkins. I want a guy like Devondre Sweat. I think he'd be a great option. I think, honestly, at the top of the 3rd round at this time, I think he has been climbing, okay? Another kind of versatile guy, though, that I kind of like in the 3rd round here, Rook Orororo, who's been getting a lot of attention, I think, because of the Scooby-Doo name, which we all love and adore, especially with the paw print on the side of the helmet. But defensive tackle out of Clemson, ran a 4.89. Versatile, big body on the middle of that line, man. Looks very good. 6'4", 293 or 294 pounds. This would be a great option to move around the line. I know they moved him around at Clemson. He tested awesome. Great athleticism for his size. Again, Chris Jenkins more of the nose tackle for me. Orororo more of that versatile defensive lineman for me, and I like both of these guys a lot. Finally, to wrap up this video, my last 3 guys that you're going to find in coverage a lot, and for the first position, may shock you a little bit, I think the Chargers need to at least look at a couple of linebackers this draft, because I think it's a position that's going unnoticed a little bit, not getting enough attention. And it's a position that I think is hugely important in Jesse Minter's defense. And Peyton Wilson, linebacker out of NC State, I think would pair very well with Derwin James, who I imagine is going to be playing middle of the field a lot. Now, Peyton Wilson went out there and ran a 4.43, and I'll be honest, that's what got my attention. But when I got looking into him, the dude, yes, great, fast, very ranging linebacker, but he's also really, really good in zone coverage. Him and Dayan Henley in the middle actually sound pretty dang nice, in those packages. But he's also very big at 6'4". To me, he kind of reminds me of like the opposite of Kenneth Murray, right? Kenneth Murray, other than speed, Kenneth Murray, very fast, very physical, plays the run decent, gets after the quarterback. Peyton Wilson's different. He's not going to be super great versus running backs. He's not going to be super versatile in rushing the quarterback, but the dude is an exceptional coverage linebacker. And I think that's what the Chargers have been wanting for a while. I think it's something that would fit in this defense pretty good. And it's a guy that I think, especially in the 3rd round, he may be going higher now, I don't know, would be a good investment, because linebacker is important for this defense, and investing in that position I think will be something that is stressed in the Harbaugh led Chargers. Okay. Last couple of guys, let's get to some corners I love. Now, we talked a lot about corner in the first round. Didn't talk much about it in the second round, shockingly, but in the third round, there's a couple of guys I really, really like. And honestly, I'm starting to think that Mike Sainristil is going to be a second rounder. He just looks that good. I've always thought of him as like a mid to early third round pick. He may be climbing, okay? But if he is available in the third round, I love this dude. He looks like an instant starting slot corner to me. Of course, cornerback out of Michigan. He ran a decent 40 at 4.47, but again, we need that physical presence in the slot. And he looks physical, he looks fluid, he looks fast, great coverage skills, great prospect all around. Corner, I think, has some decent depth in this draft. The Chargers are looking more for an instant starter, and when it comes to instant starting potential in the third round, especially because he's going to be more of a slot guy, I think Sainristil is going to be one of the last options that you're going to see being able to hand that kind of responsibility to off the bat. So Sainristil, great option. Of course, I'm pretty sure that he's going to be on the radar of Jesse Minter. Finally, the last guy I kind of want to cover here, I'm kind of doubting that he's going to be in the third round, even at the top of the third round anymore. Max Melton, I mean, he could be, and that's why he's here. If Max Melton is available at the top of the third, which I think it's pick 69, this is a guy that I think really grabbed my attention because of the combine. Goes out there, runs a 4.39. Awesome. We need more sub 4.4 cornerbacks on this team. But the dude is crazy rangy. Like, what was his 11 foot 4 inch broad jump, 40.5 inch vertical. I don't know, dude. This guy's going to fly up there and snag it. Max Melton, cornerback, Rutgers, 4.39. Sorry if I said Bo Melton. I think they're brothers or related or something like that. Either way, great athleticism, great range, versatile. He can play inside, he can play outside, super aggressive, super physical. And again, I think one of those last guys that in the third round potentially I would hand some starting playing time to, like day one, week one. He's there. He's my guy. I trust him with that responsibility. So these are going to be my guys in day 2 that are some of my favorites. Please, you guys in the comment section below, leave some of your favorites in the second round. Of course, more is to come. I'm going to start gathering up some guys I like in day 3, as well as get ready for our next mock draft, which is more than likely going to contain some trades. I think trading is becoming more and more of an attractive option, and it's one that's going to give us more ammunition to get more of these guys on the team. Okay. With that being said, thank you guys so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you like what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up, stay frosty, and good God in heaven, let's hope these Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Chargers at pick number 5 rumors are true. They're starting to gain a little steam here. Much love, guys.